Hi guys, it's Courtney and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about my top 5 full coverage foundation. Like when people ask me what foundations I would recommend as far as like having dry skin, such as myself, something that's full coverage and long lasting, these are the ones that I think about. So if you are interested in seeing my top 5 favorite full coverage foundations, then keep watching. So the first one that I want to talk about is actually a drugstore foundation. This is the Iman Luxury Concealing Foundation. It is $16. You get 0.5 fluid ounces, and it does come in 11 shades, which we'll talk about that one in a second. It is super full coverage, easily blendable. It spreads beautifully. Your usual foundations will run you about 1 ounce. Now, even though this is only a half of an ounce, a little bit goes a long way. I don't think you need more than like a pump and a half to get a full face. It does last a long time, however, it is a dewy finish. It's like a beautiful, radiant, dewy finish. I would say that you do need to set this. If you're somebody who has severe dry skin and you just love a dewy foundation, then this is a good option for you. It does have a lot of skincare ingredients. We have grapeseed, antioxidants. It does have vitamins, I think it's like A, B, C, D. It has vitamins in it. So it is actually really, really good for your skin. So to get into some of the cons, like I said, it does only come in 11 shades, and in all honesty, it doesn't go from super light to super deep. It's kind of like a light medium to like a medium deep to, I don't know. It's not that deep. Like, to me, it could go way deeper and way lighter. Also, the colors run a little bit more warm to warm golden. They don't really have a lot of neutrals in there. They don't really have a lot of pink or red undertones in them. I guess my con with it is that the shade range is so limited. I know that they did add some shades recently to it, because when I first was introduced to this foundation, my Target only had 4 shades. So if they can really work on their shade range in that aspect, then I think this foundation will be awesome. Now, I will say this one does have a tendency to crease ever so slightly. It doesn't crease to the point where I'm like, excuse me, but it does crease. Another con, I guess, would be the price tag. And the reason I say that is it is a $16 foundation. And for drugstore, it's a little bit pricier, you know what I mean? Drugstore foundations, I'm used to being anywhere from $5 to like $11, $12. This is $16, and you only get half of an ounce. You don't even get the full fluid ounce that we usually get. But like I said, a little bit does go a long way. It is something that if you are interested and you are in that very, very limited shade range, that I would suggest trying. The next one, I guess, is more of like a cult favorite or something on YouTube. So this one is the Estee Lauder Doublewear Stay in Place. She's a lot dirty. Now, the Estee Lauder Doublewear foundation is $42. You do get 1 full ounce, and it does come in 56 shades. 56 shades. That is unheard of. That is awesome. That is amazing. That is just everything. All 56 shades, I know, aren't always going to be in all the stores. I guess it kind of depends on where you're at, what their demographic is. But online, if you go to the Estee Lauder website, you do have all 56 shades to choose from. And they do have like slight subtleties, which I love about them. Like I was saying before, the color that I'm wearing right now is the bronze, the 5 warm 1. And now the difference too with this one is a little bit more golden warm, whereas this one may have a little bit, just a hair of redness to it. When I get tan during the summer, I do get, I'm still like that golden warm undertone, but I do have like a slight red peachiness to my skin when I get like super tan. So the beauty of this foundation is it does dry down to a very soft matte. If you have severely dry skin, I would say you probably wouldn't even need to set this. It's lightweight, so you don't feel this on your face. This is probably one of the foundations I get the most compliments. To where they're, I mean, you can tell I'm wearing foundation obviously, but it's almost like oh my god, what are you wearing, that kind of thing. Honestly, it blurs the skin. It does not cake up. I don't get smile lines. It's awesome. Now I will say, if you do have oily skin, although it does dry down to like that soft matte, I would still say you're probably going to need to blot, and you are probably still going to need to set it really well and use a mattifying primer. So the consistency of this foundation is a little bit more liquidy, so you're definitely still going to need to use more than you would like a really thick foundation, but the beauty in that is that it does allow for you to build up your foundation, right? So if you do only use one pump and you want like a light sheer wash of color, you can definitely do that with this foundation. So if you guys were ever interested or curious about this foundation, I would definitely say give it a try. I know it's more on the expensive side, but trust me, it's a beautiful one. It's a good one. All right, so this next foundation is probably the highest amount that I have paid for a foundation. Is that true? So the next one is the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation. I originally got Golden Amber, and it does run slightly yellow, which is okay because I can always make a yellow foundation work. They did extend their shade range, so now they have a total of 32 shades. And then this is the color Natural Amber, so this is my current. This one is my current color, and then the top one is the one that I used to wear all the time. But again, I could get away with either one. These are $46 a piece. You do get 0.25 ounces. Keep in mind that your stick foundations are going to have significantly less product than your liquid foundations. I think it's because you're supposed to use less, or maybe it being in stick form you use less. I don't really know. It does come in 32 shades. So the Hourglass foundation doesn't necessarily dry matte. It's more of like a demi matte. It's slightly more dewy than the Estee Lauder Doublewear. No matter if you're dry skin or oily skin, it does not dry down. And you definitely need to set it. It is definitely transferable. It will transfer if not set properly. That it is vegan, it is cruelty free, no animal testing, no animal byproducts, that sort of thing, which is always good. The beauty of these is it just glides on easy, and it's one of those stick foundations. Look at that, just woo. You know how your skin looks when you kind of wash your face and moisturize, and then you kind of have like a radiant sort of glow? That's what this foundation gives you. It's honestly like the best stick foundation that I have tried. This is $46. It is very expensive for just a regular stick foundation, but in all honesty, even with like all of the higher end things that I get, sometimes I would prefer to save my money and pay a little bit more for a really good product that I know is gonna work, I know is not gonna fail me, versus, you know, getting like 20 drugstore products that I know I'm gonna have to blot, I know I'm gonna have to, you know what I mean? I know it's gonna make my skin dry, I know it's gonna make me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would just prefer sometimes to save up to really get the stuff that is the best for my skin. Next up, my next favorite is the Becca Ultimate Coverage 24-Hour Foundation. I know if you guys have been kind of watching me from the beginning, I mentioned this one a lot because this is obviously one of my favorite foundations, my favorite full coverage foundations. This one is $44. You do get 1 fluid ounce, and now this one does come in 24 shades. So the shade range does run pretty deep. I will say it could probably go deeper, and it could definitely go lighter. I think the lightest shade is probably still on the almost like light to medium side, you know what I mean? So it doesn't really pull super duper fair. And then also in the middle of the 24 shades, we could definitely use a little bit more of a nuance, you know what I mean? A little bit more pinks, neutrals, warms, goldens, just with a hair of a difference. Online on the Becca website, the shade range runs from deep to light. It's something so subtle, but usually the products run from light to dark anywhere you go. So besides Beauty Bakery, I think Becca is the only other company that has done that, and I think that's pretty awesome. This one is a super full coverage foundation. It is super duper thick, and I kid you not, you only need half of a pump. Any more than half of a pump and everything goes left. This one does not crease. It covers everything and it has a very beautiful finish. It's literally like a semi-dewy, full face, full coverage, won't budge, lasts 24 hours. Like, this foundation does not play. It literally doesn't play. One thing I will say, again, you are gonna have to set this foundation. It does get sticky if you don't set it, as with most full coverage foundations that I have out here. It will last you all day though. This will stay on your face all day. And now again, I want to reiterate, do not use more than like a half pump to 1 pump. I guess it kind of depends on your face, I'm not gonna lie, but for me, half of a pump does my entire face. And if I do any more than a half of a pump of this foundation, it gets cakey, it gets oily, it creases, it transfers, it does everything that you don't want a foundation to do. The great thing about only having to use a half of a pump is that you get so much longevity out of this, because even though it's only 1 ounce, it's your basic 1 ounce all the way around, but you only really need a very, very, very little bit of this. And honestly, this goes with the Becca soft light, or is it backlight, priming filter, but this one goes with that primer so well. But yes, this one is ride or die. Probably out of all of these, this one and the next one, ooh, and the Estee Lauder and the Hourglass, no, I need them all, never mind. So this one's a great one. Last but not least, this one is like a old school cult favorite, I think. This one is the Kat Von D Lock It Foundation. I have the color Deep 71 Warm, and now this is slightly dark for my complexion. However, the shades up in the warm just are a little bit too, I don't know, it just doesn't hit my undertones the right way. So usually when I use this foundation, I will use less bronzer, less contour. I'll kind of use this as its own contour, if that makes sense. So this is still a high-end luxury brand, but it's on the lower end of that. So yeah, so it is $35 for 1 whole ounce. It does come in 30 shades. 30 shades is a pretty good start for any foundation. I do think that we could work on the shade range here. The shade range doesn't really go super deep. I can't remember if it goes super light. It may go super light, but it doesn't really go super deep. All Kat Von D products are vegan and are cruelty free, so that's a plus. When I was working at my old job, I used to work literally 14, 15, 16 hours, and this did not budge. That's why I say this one is probably my #1 ride or die foundation. A little bit goes a long way with this one as well. The price is pretty decent for this to be high end. This one doesn't crease on me. Everything always stays put. My blush, my highlighter, my concealer, everything always stays put. I always have a good makeup day with this one. Although I will say this one and the Becca are like those foundations that it's like, I know you have on makeup, but your makeup looks good. You know what I mean? Like, I get the most compliments like your makeup looks good. It's not necessarily like your skin looks good, because I know you're wearing makeup. However, it looks good. Now, I will say that the Kat Von D Lock It Foundation does have a slight scent to it, and to this day I can't put my finger on it. It's not quite like a fragrance like the Huda Beauty foundation. It's not that. It's not like a chemical fragrance either, so I don't really know what it is. So if you're sensitive to smells, then this might not be the way to go for you. This does oxidize, I think, a little bit, which means it just gets a little bit darker throughout the day. And again, when I use this specific color, I do use it as its own contour or as its own bronzer, just because it runs a little bit deeper, and I just won't add as much to it. I don't know that I would recommend this for oily skin. Again, I am on the hunt for you guys. I promise I'm gonna find you guys a matte foundation that is not, I got you. Okay. If I know I need something that's not going to move, that's gonna stay, I'm gonna take pictures, I need the full rundown, I'm gonna run around, like if I know I'm gonna be doing a lot of stuff, this one, the Becca and the Estee Lauder are ride or dies completely. In all honesty, like, I was trying to narrow it down to maybe like my top like 1 or 2, but in all honesty, every time I put these foundations on, I just fall in love all over again. I know I kept mentioning it throughout the video, but I want to really find a matte foundation for my people out there with oily skin. I really want to find something that is a full coverage long wear for you guys. So like I said, when I do, I will let you guys know. I promise. So hopefully this video was helpful. If so, please give me a thumbs up. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.